the mutant forest. The wind howled through the trees, carrying with it the sharp, acrid scent of something rotten. I paused, inhaling deeply, trying to separate the stench from the usual smells of the forest, the pine, the earth, the damp leaves. But there was no mistaking it. Something was wrong. "Do you smell that?" I asked, my voice barely rising above the sound of the wind. Jason, walking ahead, didn't answer. He didn't have to. I saw it in his eyes before he turned to look at me. He smelled it too. "It's probably just something dead in the woods," he said, trying to sound casual, but his voice cracked. "Let's keep going." I nodded, though I didn't feel the same confidence he did. We were deep in the backwoods, hours away from the nearest road, surrounded by nothing but trees and the eerie silence that had begun to settle over the forest. The deeper we went, the thicker the trees became. The shadows lengthened, twisting in unnatural ways, as though they were alive. The sound of crunching leaves beneath our boots was the only noise, the occasional rustle of branches. No birds, no insects, nothing that would normally fill the air. Something wasn't right. Jason, my best friend, had organized this trip, a chance to get away from everything, to forget about work, school, the stress of life. We had planned it for months, and yet now, with every step deeper into the woods, I couldn't shake the feeling that we had made a terrible mistake. We weren't alone. The feeling of being watched had crept in after the first few hours when we set up camp. At first, I brushed it off, but now I was sure we weren't imagining things. There was something out there in the woods, something that didn't belong. "Jason," I called, my voice more strained than I meant it to be. "Maybe we should turn back." He glanced back at me, his face unreadable. "We're almost there. Just a little longer, okay? I swear, you're gonna love what I've found." I wasn't so sure anymore. The wind picked up again, and this time it felt like it was pushing us forward, urging us deeper into the dark heart of the forest. It had started with Jason's excitement. He had heard rumors about this place, how it was untouched by modern life, how it was hidden from maps, a place where nature had been left to its own devices. He had been drawn to it, like a moth to a flame. But now, the only thing that seemed drawn to us was the looming presence of whatever was hiding in the shadow. After an hour of walking in silence, we reached the clearing Jason had been raving about. It was bigger than I had imagined, but the moment we stepped inside, the atmosphere felt wrong. The air was thick, like the forest was holding its breath. The trees around the clearing seemed twisted, their branches gnarled and misshapen, their trunks bent at odd angles. Some of them looked like they had been scarred by something, or someone, long ago. But it wasn't the trees that caught my attention. It was the ground. I could barely make it out at first, the uneven dirt and fallen leaves masking the truth beneath the surface. But then I saw it. A large blackened patch of earth, scorched and twisted. It was as if the land itself had been burned from within, leaving a charred, sickly residue. Jason knelt beside it, clearly fascinated. I stayed back, uneasy. "Do you see this?" he said, his voice low. "This is it. This is what I was talking about. I swallowed, a tight knot forming in my throat. What is it, Jason? He didn't answer at first. Instead, he pressed his hand into the ground, and that's when I saw it. Small, twitching forms wriggling beneath the earth. My stomach turned. It wasn't just the soil that was moving. The earth itself was alive, filled with something beneath it, something writhing and squirming in the dark. I stepped back, my pulse quickening. What the hell is that? Jason stood up, his face pale but determined. It's not supposed to be like this. This place is special. Before I could respond, something shifted in the clearing. A low growl, deep and guttural, vibrated through the ground, sending a shockwave of terror straight through my chest. I felt it in my bones, the unmistakable presence of something big, something dangerous, approaching. We weren't alone. The trees around the clearing creaked as they began to move. At first, I thought it was just the wind, but then I saw the shapes. Large, hulking figures emerging from the shadows between the trunks. Their movements were slow, deliberate, like predators stalking their prey. Jason didn't seem to notice at first. He was too focused on the ground and the writhing, shifting earth beneath him. But I couldn't take my eyes off the figures, slowly closing in on us. Jason, I whispered urgently, my voice barely a breath. We need to go. Now. He turned then, finally noticing the shapes in the shadows. His face went pale and his expression hardened. But instead of running, he stepped forward, as if drawn by some unseen force toward the figures. Jason, stop! I shouted. But he didn't hear me. Or if he did, he didn't care. The growl grew louder, more pronounced. The air was thick with an unnatural tension, and the figures began to move closer, faster now. They were tall, too tall, and their limbs were wrong, elongated and twisted in ways that shouldn't have been possible. I could see their eyes now, glowing faintly in the dark, their mouths twisted into snarls of hunger. Jason, I screamed, but he didn't listen. Without thinking, I grabbed his arm, yanking him back. But he shrugged me off with terrifying strength, his eyes locked onto the creatures. I have to see this, he said, his voice detached, as if he was in a trance. You don't understand. This is what I've been looking for. This is the answer. No, this is not the answer, I cried. We need to leave, now. But he didn't listen. He stepped forward again, and this time the creatures moved faster, their glowing eyes fixated on him, on us. I turned and ran. Branches cracked beneath my feet as I sprinted through the underbrush, my breath ragged in my chest. Behind me, I could hear Jason's voice, distant and desperate, calling for me to stop. But I couldn't stop. I couldn't even look back. The ground trembled beneath me as I ran, the sound of heavy footfalls following close behind. Something large and powerful was moving through the forest after me. I ran until my legs felt like they were going to give out, until the trees began to thin, and I finally burst into a clearing, gasping for air. I collapsed to the ground, shaking uncontrollably. But the sound of footsteps didn't stop. They grew louder, closer. I had to keep moving. I got to my feet, but as I turned, I saw it. The creature. It was massive, larger than anything I had ever seen. Its skin was a sickly shade of green, covered in thick, dark veins that pulsed as it moved. Its eyes were wide, black voids that seemed to absorb the very light around it. Its mouth was a gaping hole of jagged teeth, and from it came a growl, a sound that seemed to reverberate through the very air itself. And in that moment, I knew I was going to die, but I didn't stop. I ran again, not daring to look back. And as the darkness consumed me, I realized something else. Jason wasn't coming back. The forest had taken him, and it was coming for me next. Thanks for tuning into this broadcast from Zone 6. If you enjoyed this story, I'd be honored if you would subscribe, like, and tap the bell. We'll be back soon with another tale from the edge of the unknown. Your support means everything and helps keep the horror alive.